Goal line for a touchdown.
Review. The ruling on the field is changed to a touchdown.
Yeah. He got it over, just got it over.
Rigoberto Sanchez gets his right foot into it. It's blocked. It's blocked. It's available inside the 5. The Steelers jump on it, and they recover it at the 1-yard line. Trubisky out of the gun, ball on the right hash. Harris the back to the right side. Trubisky going to throw to the left. In the flat, that's a catch and a touchdown. 3rd down and a long 5 for the Colts. Indianapolis today, 2 out of 4 on 3rd down. Minshew out of the gun, ball between the hash marks, backing to throw. Steps up in the pocket, angles to his right, looking for something to develop down the field. Giving ground, fires upfield, it's caught. Pittman down the near sideline, 20, 15, 10. Tight roping the near side, and he's out of bounds inside the 10. Another RPO looking left is Minshew. Floats it left side to Moss. Moss at the 10. He's at the 5. Angling for the pylon. We got a flag at the end of the play. And it is ruled a touchdown very, very late. RPO. Trubisky rolling to the right. Setting up. Taking a shot downfield. The ball is fluttering in the air. And it's picked off by the Colts. It's Nick Cross. Cross on the return. 20, 25. And it's decked short of the 30-yard line. Minshew in the pocket. Here comes the pressure. Stands in there, throws upfield, caught. There's the 5. It's a touchdown for the Colts. This time they get in, and it's DJ Montgomery. Trey Sermon, the back left of Gardner Minshew, drops the throw on 1st down. Over in the middle, zips it, caught it, and it's a touchdown. Mo Alley Cox. Trubisky on 1st down, in the pocket, hangs in there, throws off his back foot right into the breadbasket of the Colts. They're on the return, 45. They're at the 50. Into plus territory go the Colts. It's Julian Blackmon with the interception. Again, our final score, it's the Colts 30, Steelers 13.
That's a Matt Taylor, Rick Venturi right there. I thought, honestly, that game on Saturday was absolutely outstanding. And the roller coaster ride continues. But on Saturday, it was the good part of it here. Welcome into the show, The Ride with JMV in studio today. As always, we thank you for joining us. 30-13. And what you witnessed was the Colts flipping the script on the Steelers. The Steelers had really, in any situation here in Pittsburgh, they have had the advantage and the ownership of this matchup for such a long time. And the way that this game started, you kind of felt the same way, right? 13-0, you're thinking, here we go again. And then all of a sudden, some plays were made, both sides of the football. And in the second half, you saw something. In the second half, you saw something that you haven't witnessed around here in a long time. And you saw a Colts team manhandle a Steelers team. I know early on, again, T.J. Watt was that wrecking ball that everybody was concerned about. And you thought, here we go again. Because your lasting memory was in Cincinnati last week, and you saw how that went. And then the Colts put it in gear in the second quarter. I just thought the second half, the level of bully ball that was being played by the Colts against the Steelers was the kind that we had witnessed in the past, only you're just flipping that thing around. Now, incredibly impressive in that 30-13. And I know what you're saying. The Steelers aren't that good. Mitchell Trubisky stinks. All that is true. But as I mentioned to you, you shouldn't give a damn about any of this. You just want to see this team continue to win. That was as solid as a must-win situation as you can come by. And make no mistake, nobody's going to feel good about where you are right now because you basically got, other than Jacksonville losing, and we'll get to that scenario in a second, but other than that, you didn't get any help on Sunday. You know, I mentioned this, and I mentioned this again on the pregame show on Saturday to the guys. I said it is fantastic when you're able to play on a Saturday and you get a win, and then you're able to sit back and relax, and then watch all the FUBAR that happens, hopefully, to those that are around you, those like teams. Now, granted, that nightcap, that happened to the Broncos, and then you had Sean Payton yelling at Russell Wilson, and that was pretty funny. But yesterday, none of really, other than that Jacksonville loss, and really 3 of those games went down to the 2-minute warning, and you were feeling good. The only thing you didn't feel good about were the teams that were trying to get those wins, like the Bears and Cleveland, for example. You just knew that they were there to screw it up. They can't even get lucky right. I guess other than their position going into the offseason. Hallelujah. Yeah, the Titans had the old Oilers uniforms on. We're going to stick it to Houston. They're in town. And then they end up losing to Case Keenum. They about get their rookie quarterback killed. So that didn't help either. It was just in Buffalo. Buffalo's another one with Dallas. You had the Cowboys in there late afternoon yesterday. That was not helpful, although there was nothing within question in that one. You knew where that bad boy was going the entire time. And then you go back to Saturday, the game before the Colts and the Steelers. The Bengals were on the ropes. And then T. Higgins had just an incredible catch and stretch for the touchdown. And, yeah, the Vikings lose that thing on the road. The Bengals win. So not a lot of help, but the Colts doing what the Colts need to do, and that's win football games. And now you see Jacksonville. It's interesting. Now you've got a couple of different things we can talk about, and I'm sure we will over the course of the afternoon. Stephen Holder's going to join us of ESPN coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. But now you're looking at not just getting in by virtue of a wild card, but getting in and maybe being able to play a home game. How about division champion? There is a lot that needs to happen, and before it all, you've got to win all your games. But why can't they? Why shouldn't they? Why couldn't they? Atlanta against Vegas, and then you get Houston here. If you watch Jacksonville last night, not only did they lose, but they also have Trevor Lawrence in concussion protocol. That is still where C.J. Stroud resides, even though Houston got by with Case Keenum yesterday in Nashville. And I'm not going to suggest that this is all opening wide for nobody but the Colts, because there's a lot of teams right now with similar records that are going to be fighting for playoff position to fight to get in. So what you have to do is you have to do what you can do, and that's take care of yourself. That's why we all talked about that on the pregame show on Saturday, talked about that last week, and sometimes that gets lost in the shuffle of me while talking about this all the time. But you had to win that game. Can you imagine if you lose that game what we're talking about today? It is serious doom and gloom. In Pittsburgh, it's about, hey, Mike Tomlin has outlasted his time, and Mason Rudolph is going to be the starter for the remainder of the year. I mean, you went to where you are right now. What is it, a 50+% chance to make the postseason, down to 19? If you lost that on Saturday, you just could not afford it. I'm going to give you fans a shout-out. You can tell. If you went to that game, I had so many people tell me after the game, you know what, that was the most exciting, most fun, most enjoyable game that I have been a part of in a long time. And I gather from what you're saying is there is just a relative thirst here, no matter how you do it. By all means necessary, just get into the postseason. You know, you're making these December games count is fantastic, but just get into the postseason. And you can see what happens, because really, you look around and there's nothing that's etched in stone. Well, wait a minute. What about San Francisco and the NFC, JMV? Look how good. Yeah, but what San Francisco, was it a month ago they had a 3-game losing streak? Well, wait a minute. Remember Dallas? Remember how great Dallas was? And they got disposed of easily yesterday afternoon. The same goes for the Eagles, not to mention the Kansas City Chiefs. And this thing is just a ridiculous jump ball. Who can make those plays? I love the Colts offensive line in the second half. Again, doing something to the Steelers that normally the Steelers had reserved to do to the Colts. Running the football. Chipping away at the clock. There are things you got to get better at, things you got to get right. I know everybody's concerned about Matt Gay. Got to get that consistency back. But that was impressive. That was fun to watch, and I love the fact that the crowd was so incredibly engaged. And maybe the best part about it is that crowd was heavy with urine-colored towels waving. And that type of game, that type of performance, really after the second quarter on, really exclusively in the second half, that type of game quiets everybody down. Nobody's waving the urine-stained cloth any longer, are they? Everybody is just shutting the blank up. That's exactly what you wanted to see happen. And in fact, you can tell with Colts fans, you're absolutely starved. Really, not even just Colts fans, but fans around here in general, they are starved for something like this. I mean, look what that Vegas trip did for everybody. Got a packed field house to watch it on TV. But you got to be careful. You got to be careful that you don't hose yourself, because you're watching the Pacers go through a self-hosing right now. I know they had to travel and everybody's tired, and I got this little bitty violin that I'm going to play for you right here. I know everybody's tired, everybody's hurt. When people believe you to be, especially your fan base that's been chasing this carrot for a long time, believe you to be legit, they can sidestep a loss in Milwaukee on Wednesday with the circus that was in town afterwards. You can look at the second of a back-to-back where they were stuck in D.C. overnight, Friday to Saturday, because of something going wrong with the plane. Didn't get there until Saturday afternoon. You play a half, and then clearly you ran out of gas in the second half to the best team in the Western Conference so far, the Minnesota Timberwolves. But what you cannot do, you cannot look over and you cannot on any level excuse that garbage that was Friday night. And again, you got Pacer fans that even in December are chomping at the bit to believe. And then unfortunately you have the Pacers, and I'm not talking about Milwaukee, I'm not even talking about Minnesota. And we'll see what happens against the Clippers tonight. But you have them now wondering if we're talking about pretenders. I'm not suggesting you're going to win the East. But compared to what you thought they were in that loss over a week ago Saturday to the Lakers in Vegas, compared to what you believe them to be right now, that's one win later over Detroit last Monday. And I'll sidestep Wednesday in Milwaukee. I'll even do it in Minneapolis on Saturday. But there is no reason, no way you can rationalize or excuse how you lose to that 3-win Washington team with that crap hole performance on Friday night. That's how everybody jumps off the bandwagon. I just explained to you why everybody wants to be on it and how everybody with the Colts is ready to hop on it, and they did so Saturday night. Well, you saw on Friday night with the Pacers why people would say, hey, you know what, maybe I'll go ahead and get off until further notice. That's what you do. People always ask me, when you say these teams are jacking around, what do you mean? That's it. From the second quarter on, just a listless performance, both offensively and, as always, basically defensively. That's what you cannot have. So I'm with you. If you could ever get both these teams on the same page at the same time, you might have something. So the Pacers get a little bit to prove later on tonight. We'll see if Haliburton plays. We'll see if Turner plays. I know the G League guys, I think Jarris Walker and Ben Shepherd are going with the G League to do something. So, I don't even know who's going to play tonight. Give me the heads-up call. Got my shoes on. I'm ready to rock right here. So incredibly disappointing that was. And again, I'm just talking about one game in particular. When you think about it, you've got the Hornets, you've got the Bulls, the Raptors, and the Blazers. Those are 4 bad home losses. And then you couple that loss in Washington on Friday night right there with it. 5 bad losses that you have to try to make up for. Did a good job of it. 2 wins over Milwaukee. That's fantastic. A win over Boston. That's terrific. But you continue to shoot yourself in the foot when it matters the most, because once you get into January, that schedule is going to toughen even more. And you just question how tough this group is on both ends of the floor. To me, and this is just me, and this is something I always want to see them get over, they flourish and they've got to feel good when they're playing well. But when they're down in the dumps, they easily kind of float away. So I don't know. The coaches will tell you it's toughness or whatever other baloney they're going to give you. But that's just what I see. And it's easy to live in that world. It's easy to live in that world of success. And to live in that world, you've got to bring it every single night. And that's why when you look back at Detroit a week ago, I thought, that's good. Detroit's the worst team in the league, but that's tough to motivate for. And the Pacers did just that. But since that point in time, it has been highly disappointing, and we'll see if they can get over on that against the Clippers coming up later on tonight, of which that is why we bail at 5:30. Colts Roundtable, 5:30 till 6:30. Mark Boyle, voice on radio of the Pacers and Clippers coming up, and we'll follow the stories regarding who is going to end up playing in this game. Tyrese Haliburton didn't play on Saturday night. Miles Turner's got a bilateral hamstring soreness or something happening too. And you already have Andrew Nembhard and Jalen Smith listed as out. Got a lot of work to do. A lot of proving. Long season to prove things, don't get me wrong. But that was highly, and I mean highly disappointing it was this past week. And then you compare that to the Colts this time last week. We were talking about how disappointing they were. And then they went out and they stuck it to a team that has been giving them the business for a long period of time and did it in the fashion in which that team had been doing to them. That is what you take away from it. Or at least that's what I take away from it. Yeah, hopefully you do as well. This portion of the show, as always, brought to you by the Shane Company. Fine jewelry since 1929. Shane Company, made to shine. I've got a lot of time for you at 239-1070. Email address is jmv@1075thefan.com. Inside the lounge via YouTube Live. I'll see you guys lurking in there as well. Busy week. And I'll tell you where we're going to be coming up later on, too. Thursday and Friday on the road. But let's not forget the weekend that was college. And I can't get myself to go here. And I know what you mean. Like with Purdue, that's what you expect. And I know that you still wait on Purdue to do it in the NCAA tournament. I gather that. But it was a game like Saturday or games like the Maui Invitational. That's what you've come to expect out of Purdue. Now, again, they still have some proving to do as well. Don't get me wrong. And a great win over Arizona. For those of you that were either there at a great environment or watched that thing on Peacock, wherever you might have been, fantastic game. Really talented teams, no doubt about that. And Purdue right now, the way you look at it, and their resume is outstanding to this point. And then you go to Bloomington, and it's really hard for me, just kind of like it is still with Purdue. You're waiting, right? You're waiting until March. But with IU, even with this group, and even if you want to say, well, they're growing and they're young and they're this and they're that, and I realize what they lost from a year ago. They lost a dude in Trace Jackson Davis that I always lauded because he was always there and gave you big numbers, but a hardcore number of those IU fans made fun of the dude all the time. I never really understood it, and certainly I would assume you miss it when it's gone. But what you really miss, and that really hasn't reemerged, is being able to win, really regardless of the personnel, a game like that on Saturday at noon in Bloomington. I know Kansas is good. They're second ranked. Hall was rocking. You get out to a double-digit lead, had a double-figure lead in the second half, and you just simply can't close. And that's kind of where you are with IU right now. I don't know how many people have a feel good about, well, they were close against a good team. That's the feeling I want to get back. Well, they beat a good team, regardless of the personnel. If they were stacked like it's 1992, or if they were rebuilding somewhere in the mid-90s, whatever, so-called rebuilding. Wherever it is, in Assembly Hall, in that environment, against a team like that, as an IU basketball fan, especially the older generational ones, you have been bred to understand, to expect more. And that was the disappointing aspect. Like, to me, it's hard for me to sit back and go, well, great, They were close, but. And it's the same kind of thing you're dealing with Purdue. I mean, the resume, the pre-Big Ten, but really, they don't punch a clock with their own fan base until March. Still a fantastic weekend for them, and clearly Mike Woodson and company are still searching. We got a lot to talk about. I want to work you guys in. I got a lot of time for you. Stephen Holder coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. James is back today. James, have you looked? Do we have anything to give away whatsoever? Are we empty again this week before Christmas?
We are empty again.
We are empty again. I come to you bearing 0 gifts. But it's the week before Christmas. What are we doing here? Don't we wrap something up tight, put a bow on it, give it away nicely, right?
I mean, you would think.
For the future. Don't we do that here? What are we doing? It's James over there. James has got your calls. Again, anything Colts, I'm on top of it for you. Regarding the Pacers, Clippers coming up later on tonight. We got you covered there. And collegiately. Oh, by the way, too, Indiana State 10-1. I think Sycamores get Tennessee State coming up here in the next couple of days at home. I could be wrong about this. And I believe they don't play again until, when's the 30th? That's a week from Saturday, right? The 30th? Yeah. They go to Michigan State. And then the official long-term start of the Missouri Valley. Nah, seriously, downtown was awesome on Saturday. It's a great feel. That's what it's supposed to be like around here, is that. That's what we're good at. I say I have 0 in it. None. I say, hey, that's what we're really good at, and I don't lift a finger, right? But certainly that's what this community, that's what this town is known for. And you guys hit it out of the park. That was one of the best Colts crowds. And especially with your ability to shut up the Steeler fans, which were many in that building on Saturday. Congratulations to you. The urine-stained towel wavers had to sit down and shut up, and that made it even more beautiful, didn't it? Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't like them either. Even more beautiful. All right, quick break, and we shall return. RIP to one of the best players, generationally speaking, really, of any generation, Eric Montross, who passed away, I think 8 months ago, diagnosed with cancer, and then passed away. It was announced earlier today. Eric was 52. Way, way, way too young. Not only an incredible talent, if you remember his days back at Lawrence North and at North Carolina in the NBA with the Celtics, among others, but also just a really nice guy. Really nice guy. We need more nice guys, and we sure as hell need nice guys to hang around a lot longer with us, be with us, celebrate with us than that. RIP to Eric Montross. All right, quick break. We'll come back. We'll load up those phones, talk with you coming up on the other side inside the lounge via YouTube Live. We'll get to you coming up as well. I mentioned a busy week, Thursday and Friday on the road in a place where I have not been in a long time. Tell you about that coming up here a little bit later on as well. The stream, the app, it's HD radio. If you have that in your car, truck, or van, I'm telling you, it sounds fantastic. You'll love it. You can also find us via FM, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Back with your calls next.
Still don't have the perfect holiday gift? At Shane.
Asses whipped by a bunch of damn nerds.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Third down and a long 5 for the Colts. Indianapolis today, 2 out of 4 on third down. Minshew out of the gun, ball between the hash marks, backing to throw, steps up in the pocket, angles to his right, looking for something to develop down the field, giving ground, fires upfield, it's caught. Pittman down the near sideline, 20, 15, 10, tight roping the near side, and he's out of bounds inside the 10. His momentum takes him out down to the 7-yard line, gain of 42 yards for the Colts, and it's Michael Pittman Jr. A big play to set up the Colts. First and goal.
That's Matt Taylor, everybody. I'm John, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Because later in the game, Michael Pittman Jr. took a hit by Damontae Kazee that took him out of the game as we watched, and was a frightening hit. Now, as a result of that, Kazee has been suspended without pay for the rest of the season. Even if the Steelers were to make the postseason, you're not going to think about that. They should be done. 5 unnecessary roughness penalties in 2023. I believe the total is upwards of nearly $60,000 in illegalness. And then you factor in that he's not going to get paid the remainder of the season. That's something. That is something. Michael Pittman Jr. is a dude, though. We had him on a couple of weeks ago. What was he doing out duck hunting? Which is awesome. But he is a dude. Yeah. He was already going to get this contract extension, and he should, because they love him over there, and they should love him anyway. And I know we're always going to end up getting some suggesting that he's not a number one. Well, he's going to get paid. He's going to get extended. And then Chris Ballard can go out there and also get somebody else. It's not that hard. Or at least it's not that hard for me sitting here telling a professional it's not that hard. Hey, professional general manager, you know me. I'm a clown sitting here. It's not that hard. It's not that hard in terms of why you bring this guy back. This guy is the fabric and will continue to be for this team. This is how you want this team to be. That is him. And you don't let guys like that go someplace else and take that with them. And you can argue all day about the lack of blazing speed. You can argue all day about number 1 versus number 2, but that is the dude that you want a part of your team. I don't want anybody using the term culture ever again with the Colts if this guy is in the future not a part of it, or you believe him not to be a part of it, because you are crazy. You should be fine too, like Kazee. That's a true story. That is pretty easy. Hey, JMV, the Colts have no choice but to bring Minshew back at this point, right? I don't know why you would think about doing anything else, especially considering is you don't know. Again, this is conversations down the road. You just don't know when he's going to be called upon again. I thought he had a fantastic game on Saturday, too. Really all the way around. Offensively, that was, right? That's what you want. That's what you want to see. Is it not? Could you put that down as a blueprint? What do they call it now? Cheat code? Could you put that down as your cheat code, as what you want to see? Isn't that for this team and this offense, you know, considering those that are out? I'm, by the way, assuming Jonathan Taylor comes back this weekend, right? Is that too much to assume? But considering this team and what you saw on Saturday, that's perfect, right? Wasn't that perfect? Oh, I know there was a drop pass here. But wasn't that what you want to see? For this team right now, there's no doubt you want to see it get better. You want to see it become more prolific, but that's this team right now. It's my thought. So, yeah, Kay Adams, no doubt. Shout out to Jim McCann. He's listening live in McCordsville, and I'm hoping Jim McCann with the JMV Takeover shirt on there, rocking that. can either join us at Britain Tavern on Thursday for our Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots, or Friday at Twin Peaks Bud Light Blue Friday. So either one, Jim McCann and a fantastic, not just this show listener, but station listener and JMV Takeover listener from Southern California. I'm telling you what, we get great numbers too, both online and through you all listening, and he's a big deal with that. We thank you and happy holidays to Jim McCann. We'll look for you coming up on Thursday or Friday. All right, 239-1070 is the number. We got a lot on the plate here. We'll clear it with you, your thoughts and more, whether it's the Colts-Steelers, the Pacers and their situation since Vegas, Clippers coming up later on tonight or collegiately over the weekend. We have you covered. Anthony is at 239-1070. Hello, Anthony. How are you?
JMV, love the show. You guys, sorry, I think I started too soon.
Do I tell it like it is? Would you suggest I tell it like it is? Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
More so than a lot of places that I've listened to. But I would like to say that I love your guys' show. Both you and Jimmy do an excellent job. And I would like to talk about the Colts. I've got a question about a couple guys that have been on IR, and I was wondering, Jelani Woods, have you heard anything at all about him coming back this season?
At this point, he is a myth. At this point, I don't know if he is real. He's just, he's actually real. He is not a myth, but he is not healthy. He's had more hamstring injuries, I guess, in over the last 6-month period than any human being ever. So, yes. Until I will suggest this, until we see him again, he is nothing at that position but a myth.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And then Jonathan Taylor, have they given any updates on his return yet? Because I know he's not on IR, but he was out for the last 3 weeks, and hoping he'd come back this week.
I am going to fare a guess that, and maybe I'm going above and beyond here, but I'm going to fare a guess that it is about time for his return. I don't have that on good authority. Again, that's just me guessing, but I am going to guess that it's just about time for his return.
Gotcha. And then I do have one question on the Pacers.
Yes.
What in the heck is going on with them? Are they just burnt out this early into the season, or is it just schematics, or just coincidence that they've not been playing as good since they lost that in-season tournament?
They are an inconsistent bunch. They're an inconsistent bunch, and it's weird, right? It seems like that most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, they can get up, and they certainly got up for those in that whole in-season tournament in the NBA. But the fact that in 5 games this year, they have played down to the worst of the worst, I can only come by an inconsistency. And this is going to sound lame. This is going to sound like any cliched coach that ever coached in the state of Indiana. But they always say, hey, defense travels when your offense doesn't. Well, their offense is always there, but rarely, if ever, does their defense travel, and it puts more pressure on their offense. And I think in tune, what you've seen is this team suffer greatly in that capacity. I mean, they made the Wizards on Friday night look like the stinking Celtics offensively. It was flat embarrassing. So it is just a very inconsistent team. They've given us moments to get really excited, and you thank them for that. But this fan base around here deserves and certainly wants more than what we have seen with the down portions. And they have 5 games that they're actively trying to make up for, to losing to a much lesser bottom-running type of team. And that Friday night was bad. I'll give you a great example. Minnesota on Saturday, all right, so the plane's late. You don't get there until Saturday afternoon. You're tired. You've been on the road forever. Yeah, whatever. Minnesota's the one out in the West, but there is nothing you can excuse for that joke of a Friday night. And they've got 5 jokes so far in the loss column on their schedule, and the schedule's going to get much more difficult coming up in January. So it's just incredibly inconsistent, and I know people around here want more. You deserve it, and hopefully they give it to them.
Now, is this an Indiana local sports thing, and maybe I'm just overthinking it, but both the Colts and the Pacers seem to play down to the level of their opponent instead of playing, to their own standard more often than not.
I think that is definitely something the Pacers do. We have seen way too much of that to suggest. Yeah, they definitely play down to their competition. There's no doubt. I think that there are so many teams that are like the Colts, right? Does that make sense? They're kind of in that general. You can see by the records right now. You got so many teams in that vicinity right now that it maybe, and especially it's tough for the Colts up until that Bengals game to play down to the schedule that they had because that schedule, the teams they've been playing have been really bad. Not Tampa looks better now with what they did in Green Bay yesterday, but all in all, it has not been a difficult schedule whatsoever. So I don't think the Colts do that as much, certainly, as we've seen the Pacers do it.
Fair enough. I appreciate your time, JMV, and you guys have a wonderful holiday if I don't talk to you before.
You call anytime, and thank you very much. How do I hang up this phone over here? Did you do it? Oh, how do I hang it up? I'm just looking at it over here. I got it in front of me, believe it or not. I could try to hang it up.
Oh, he hung up. We're good.
Oh, he did? I'm looking at it right here. I got a screen in front of me, which makes me feel fantastic. Thank you very much. This is for Gritty. Gritty's inside the lounge via YouTube Live. JMV, with no quality non-conference wins, is there a chance that IU basketball makes the tournament? The Big Ten isn't very good. They lost a huge opportunity in a big way on Saturday. It is going to take an effort of which I would not expect from what I have seen from this IU basketball team right now, if that makes sense. Put yourself in a good position, and then you're unable to close. And I know I like blaming officials sometimes, especially the NBA officials, but watching that game on Saturday, you had everything working for you until the end of the game, and you didn't. And they're in terms of this, Jennifer, in terms of getting into the NCAA tournament, they are in what we would say in Southern Indiana, a heap of trouble is what they're in. And no quality work in there. All right, 239-1070. Before the break, Adam is up next. Hello, Adam. How are you?
Hey, how you doing, JMV?
Great, Adam. Go ahead.
Hey, happy Victory Monday. Belated happy birthday and happy holidays. Also, what a great Colts win. I was there. The environment was electric. I mean, it blew the roof off.
Completely agree. And that's just what I mentioned. You get fans chomping at the bit. It was electric. It was exciting. It was fun, enjoyable. At the same time, you guys got to shut up all those Steeler fans in there. I mean, it was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was as good an atmosphere as I can remember in a while.
Definitely. I was like 14 rows from the field when I seen that guy hit Pittman and he got ejected out of the game, and all the Steeler fans in front of us, we were all like, sit down, quit waving the towel, da-da-da-da. I mean, it was great.
Yeah, it was awesome. That's exactly what you're looking for, too. Now you're looking for 3 more to where you can take care of your own, because that's what it's going to take. I think it's going to take that Houston game. It's going to come down to that, to me, the way that everybody's playing around them right now. But if you take care of what you can, then it should be good. But again, I'm not going to suggest it's easier said than done, because this Colts team, as I've talked about, is very roller coaster-esque. And we'll see what happens coming up on Christmas Eve on Sunday down in Atlanta. But Atlanta looked horrible on losing to Carolina. You got the Raiders. We know how they've looked. And obviously that big one with Houston left. So.
And all I'm saying, I'm going to use your word again. It was a sports arousal. I took a friend of mine with me, never been to a game, and she loved it. I mean, she says, this is awesome. Thanks for taking me. It was a great time.
Was she impressed with your sports arousal too?
Oh, definitely.
Nice.
I mean, I was standing up. I was teaching her to stand up on the third downs, wave the, when we get a first down, wave the arm. Oh, yeah.
I love it, Adam, man. Call anytime. Appreciate you very much. The sports arousal should be long-lasting. I mean, seriously, I want to make sure I get this right. What is what's the man pill stuff that's from Lilly around here? I know one. Is that
Viagra?
Is Cialis a Lilly?
Cialis is one of those.
I better
pills.
say Cialis, I guess, right? Yeah, that's awesome. That's what you guys have been looking for, too, and you've been without it for so long. I mean, it does. It's like times 10 when you're a part of that, like you were on Saturday. Job well done, however. All right, quick one. We'll come back. Stephen Holder's going to join us coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. As usual, our Mondays and the football recap brought to you by the Shane Company. Fine jewelry since 1929. Shane Company, made to shine. Your call, Stephen Holder, still to come. And remember, too, you may want to hustle up on this because we got to bail at 5:30 for Colts Roundtable and then Pacer pregame. You get the Clippers and the Pacers at the Fieldhouse coming up later on tonight. Little redemption is what you're looking for from the blue and gold this evening. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same?
Another RPO. Looking left is Minshew. Floats it left side to Moss. Moss at the 10. He's at the 5. Angling for the pylon. We got a flag at the end of the play. And it's no touchdown. Moss is down for the time being. He's also shaken up over on the far sideline. And it is ruled a touchdown very, very late by the far side judge. But we do have a flag. We also have Zack Moss shaken up at the end of the play. So a lot going on here. It's a horse collar penalty on the tackle supplied by Michael Walker, the linebacker, after the touchdown on the ensuing kickoff. And the Colts are on the board. It's 13-6.
There's Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts right there. The Colts win over the Steelers. And you love, especially in the second half, how they did it. They did it in what had been known as Steeler fashion right there. That's how they did it. Offensive line shouts, being able to run the football, whether it was because Zack Moss goes out, didn't return, right? Sermon, Goodson. Have to run the football, grind some clock, put points on the board. You have to shut up the Steeler fans in there. You do have to give them credit because they do show up anywhere and everywhere. But as a friend of mine just said, when anybody ever asks why the Colts want primetime games, what you were a part of on Saturday afternoon is exactly why. When Jim Irsay gets all up and I want prime, that's exactly why. For that atmosphere. How long has it been for you? Butler back at it. Dogs had, California in that double overtime game last week in Saginaw Valley on Friday night. You had Georgetown to start the Big East. I believe that is the first Big East game for the Bulldogs. That's coming up tomorrow night. And then at Providence coming up on Saturday. And to start the new year at St. John's, UConn lurking at Hinkle Fieldhouse on the 5th of January, in case you're curious right there. At JMV, I was gifted some awesome seats and got to witness the greatness of ISU's Robbie Avila. I don't know, do I call him Avila or Avila? I call him Avila most of the time, so I'll stick with that. Now, we talked to Josh Schertz, his head coach, about him, and he is a player. The loudness for the Purdue-Arizona game was ridiculous. Just a great crowd of Boilermaker fans for that one. My son Eli ate so much food in the suite that he said he would need to eat again for a week. Well done out of you, John. Yeah, Indiana State, a big win. I believe our friend Brendan King is on the call with Indiana State and Tennessee State. He said that a little bit earlier. That's, I think, coming up tomorrow. And Butler, getting back to Butler just kind of doing what Butler can do right now. Nothing wrong with that. All right, quick break. We'll come back. I see you guys. Matthew and Maine's going to lead on the other side. D. White's in the fold. Anthony, too. I've got an hour with me and you. I got a lot of ground to cover. Stephen Holder in the 5 o'clock hour. An early bail because of Pacer Hoops and Round Table coming up for you. At 5:30, we're off the show today, so do not go anywhere. Your calls, more of my thoughts on the sports weekend, which, for the most part, not in all, but for the most part, was incredibly enjoyable. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Bad religion. Social distortion. Together in one night. Friday, May 17th at Verizon Amphitheater at White River State Park. Special guest, The Love Bombs. On sale now at livenation.com. Bad religion. Social distortion. Part of the Jack Daniels concert series.
Hi, this is
Lloyd,
Jessica,
Robert, and Adam
from Kirby Heating and Air Conditioning in Pittsboro. The Kirby family wishes you the merriest of Christmases and happiest of New Year's. Thanks for your business. We really appreciate it. If you live in Hendricks or surrounding counties and need us, we are always here to help. Kirby services any model, and we proudly install American Standard products. Call us at 317-892-3614.
Kirby is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Happy holidays from Kirby Heating and Air Conditioning.
Christmas gift-giving ideas. Thank you very much. You love my idea from Pajamagram at pajamagram.com. JMV here for the Smooth Seduction Satin gift set from Pajamagram. If there's anybody that's ready to tell you exactly what Smooth Seduction Satin
caught it, and it's a touchdown. Mo Alley Cox, touchdown as he walks across the goal line. Touchdown, I-N-D-Y. One play, no problem. 18 yards to the tight end, and the Colts lead 20-13.
Matt Taylor, Rick Venturi right there. Gardner Minshew, 215 and 3 TDs. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, and I know that there are some areas offensively, I'm sure, where would you like to see more? There's no question you don't want to see Michael Pittman Jr. taking a hit like that. And there's a lot, I'm sure, you can find. But isn't that exactly second half-wise what you're looking for? And I'm just talking about this team. You want this team to get better. This team is a pieced together, far from a finished product. But with what they have right now, and considering the situation in which they're in right now, offensively, is that nearly, I hesitate to use the word perfect, is that about as good as you can ask for in the second half? In the second half. Again, in terms of production, in terms of being able to run it, the offensive line taking over, doesn't every NFL team want to play like that? Or at least they say that. We're going to run and we're going to muscle up, flex, own that side of the ball. Isn't that ideally exactly how you would love to see this Colts team offensively play game in and game out? Is that near perfect for this group? 18 of 28, 215, 3 TDs for Gardner Minshew. Here's what's funny, too. He was like down on the list that everybody else was talking about. Again, for this group. And there's nothing wrong with that. You've got injuries. Clearly with a backup plan at positions. And then you consider that offensive line the week prior against Cincinnati was somewhat a no-show. You could make an argument Bernard Ryman had his worst game, maybe one of his worst games ever at left tackle last week. Collectively, though, they did in the second half normally what Pittsburgh is known to do. They just took that thing over. That's what impressed me more than anything else. And you look around the NFL and all these coaches will tell you that's exactly what they strive for right now. What you saw late in that game, run the football, control the clock, and then make sure that you ended up putting points on the board. And I know that it wasn't 7 a couple of different times, but make sure you're putting points on the board. That seemed to me to be about it. Anybody else agree? All right, 239-1070 is the number. Work people in. Stephen Holder, I'll ask that question coming up here in the 5 o'clock hour. Pacers Clippers tonight. Again, follows this show that follows Roundtable, and then you get the Pacer pregame. They shall tip things up tonight at 7 o'clock, and the Pacers need to make amends. I don't know if they're going to be able to. We're kind of waiting word on Haliburton and Turner with a knee contusion for Haliburton, which kept him out of that game on Saturday. That loss, bad second half. You can kind of see that one coming. In that second half in Minneapolis to the Timberwolves. And then Turner's got something called a bilateral hamstring something or other. Then they got some guys doing the G League thing. You're already down Jalen Smith and Andrew Nembhard, so I want to look at this too. I believe the Clippers are winners of 7 consecutive. That sounds like a magical evening that's about ready to transpire downtown at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. I could not be more bummed. It's not about Saturday night with them. It's not about last Wednesday night with them. Not even about a week ago Saturday against the Lakers. But that piece of crap that was Friday night, they're still not past that. Don't you think by now the real deal would be past that? I know that it's easier said than done, me sitting here saying it. That's a 3-win team in Washington that ran right by them. It's a team that has been every bit as bad as Detroit. You could see the Minnesota thing coming, especially after the travel issues they had, the plane situation, didn't get off the ground, and didn't get to Minneapolis until Saturday afternoon. Timberwolves right now would be the 1 seed out west. I think we can all understand that. You understand a team like Milwaukee gunning for you as they were last Wednesday, but what you don't understand and what keeps you as a Pacer fan from believing is crap like that on Friday, and that's exactly what it was. There's no way around it. That's what keeps you from completely buying in. It went downhill in the second quarter, and really they just kind of went away. The same thing over and over and over again. Straight line to the basket. No contending type of defensive hand on wide open shots. And then you give any NBA team, and especially players at that level, you get them A, an open look, or B, open looks up until they feel really good about their jumper, and then anybody out there is tough to stop. It's awful. See if they're able to make amends later on tonight. IU a loser to Kansas on Saturday afternoon down in Bloomington. And you're embarking upon coming up here once the non-conference is over. I will not call it non-con, by the way. Once the non-conference is over, you start the Big Ten. And outside of Purdue, nothing really is standing out of the Big Ten right now. So if you're asking me how IU makes up ground and is able to get to the NCAA tournament, I don't have a path, because other than being surprising and being either near the top or winning, I don't know where that path is going to be. With the net, all these rating systems here, I don't know where you're going to get it. Because that thing slipped right through their fingers on Saturday. And right there. That would have people talking. That would have the net rating speaking to you. Boilermakers over Arizona. My Indiana State Sycamores now a 10-win, 1-loss team as they knock off friend of the show Michael Lewis and Ball State in that first game of the Indy Classic. By the way, well put on couple of games. I'm going to give a shout-out, too. Boilermaker fans came out. Boilermaker fans came out, and loud, great atmosphere. So well done all the way around. Man, you talk about a lot of good non-conference wins. Purdue's got them stacked right now. Again, it's interesting, too. I mean, much like IU, you're going to believe it when you see it, and then Purdue fans are kind of still sitting on the threshold of, yeah, you know what, Big Ten, great, here it comes. But you wait until March. That's just where we are. But over this weekend, it wasn't great for IU, and it was good and a great atmosphere at Gainbridge Fieldhouse for the Boilermakers and the Sycamores, for that matter. Butler won on Friday night. Butler gets Georgetown coming up at Hinkle. I believe that is coming up tomorrow for the Butler Bulldogs. All right, 239-1070. Inside the Lounge via YouTube Live. You got the stream, the app. You got HD radio as well. Oh, yeah, Tom Allen now the new defensive coordinator at Penn State. And for those of you asking me, does that have an effect on what he gets from IU as a buyout? And it does not. That apparently, according to Zach Osterman, something that you would expect that they went back and forth on prior to the signing of the buyout. So, I'm going to take over as the defensive coordinator for Penn State. All right, 239-1070. IU got some calls here. The state of Maine for Matthew here. Hello, Matthew. How are you?
JMV, I am not well.
What's happening?
All right, so huge windstorm today.
Right.
Got no power. The sun set about 11 minutes ago. It's my one night off from my second job, but you got no power, no internet outages, still waiting on my fan hoodie from you.
Oh, no. I'm a part of that equation that's in the negative right here. I got to be better than that. My apologies. Got to be better than that. So are you eclipsing some of your power to be on this show right now? Because that does kind of make me feel really good that you're doing that. I don't want you to do it. If power obviously seems like that it's not like normalcy there, are you okay? You okay making this call? Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay making the call. I got a few minutes left. I can also go out and start my car and charge my car and actually get heat that way, which I don't want to do, so I'm hoping power will be out tonight, but it's who knows? It's a multi-day.
So is this storm in and around Maine, especially along the coast, is it like the perfect storm situation that we saw in that movie back in 2000? The Andrea Doria type of storyline? Is that what we got?
Oh, God, I hope not. That movie was awful.
I did feel bad, man. I felt bad for Wahlberg. He's floating around there by himself and had visions of Diane Lane floating around. I thought, man, that's salt right there in the wound of that character. Good Lord. He's floating around in that water endlessly, and there's Diane Lane's hot face right up. Come on. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, luckily I'm inland, but there's 340,000 of us without powers, which is half of CMP's customers. I don't even have a time frame of when it's going to be back on.
Well, hang in there. We'll get that hoodie on the way as well, too. I kind of feel like I'm a part of a Monday down cycle for you, and I don't want to be there. I don't want to be that way for you. I want to be your up dude right here. So my bad. My bad.
It's all right. Hey, at least I got a Colts win and a Boilermaker win.
You did. Both in downtown Indy, both at the same time, which was really weird, but great atmospheres at both. Matthew, you hang in there, okay?
Okay.
Matthew in Maine dealing with weather. I have not looked. I can't remember the last time I watched the weather. Is that bad? When's the last time you watched the weather?
Like the Weather Channel?
Yeah, this is like local weather.
I mean, I have the little weather app on my phone, but other than that, I don't really do anything.
I haven't watched it in forever. Hey, JMV, I missed you last night on Fox 59. Well, you missed me because I wasn't on there. Nobody called. Which, I don't know. Yeah, nobody called last night. I'm assuming that they were really busy. They get a lot going on. I'm always there, and I know that they make it a point to put me on so we can squash Wish TV Channel 8 with whatever they're doing, but that's normally what happens. But, yeah, to answer your question, James, didn't get the call last night. Did not get the call out of the bullpen. I don't know what was going on. But it was all good. My friend Derek's at 239-1070 right now. Hello, Derek. How are you? Uh-oh, Derek. That's me right there. Derek, no, that's not. You take Derek over there. Did I lock it up? Sorry about that.
Hey, I can't seem to do it.
What?
There it is.
There we go, Derek. I'm learning stuff right here. Derek, I'm sorry for that false start. Go right ahead.
No problem. How are you guys doing today?
Fantastic, buddy.
Hey, had a wonderful time at the game. Bullseye Event Center was awesome as usual.
I went down there looking for everybody right before, what time was it? I don't know. About an hour before the game.
About 1:30. I got there much later than what was planned. But
2:30. I think I went down there about 3:45 or so. I saw a couple of people that I knew, but I think everybody had already bailed.
Yeah, we had bailed because we had pregame on-field passes that my ticket rep had gotten for me.
Right.
And just a funny story real quick. I tried to do I don't know if you heard me on Jake Friday. I was trying to give away my last ticket to a fan, and Jake put it out on the Twitterverse and everything. Tweet Derek if you want to win. Tell him you heard it on the show. And I picked one person and then didn't hear back from him. Then he said he had to work. Then I picked another person who said he wanted to go. Then didn't hear back from him at all. So I guess nobody wanted to hang out with me. I don't know.
No, I don't think that's you. I mean, maybe it's just because they didn't know you very well. They should ask me, and I'd give them a recommendation of you.
Well, Jake put a glowing recommendation out there, but nobody. But I ended up giving it to my wife's friend.
Well, he's good at that stuff. He's a wordsmith. In case you didn't know that, like I know like 5 words, but he knows more than 10. He's a lot more wordy than I am.
You take the 5 words and make 100 other words like jackassery and stuff like that. So
yes, yeah. That's what dudes do that aren't very bright. But go ahead.
Can I give you some names real quick?
Yes.
Kerry Collins, Andrew Luck, Matt Hasselbeck, Scott Tozine, Jacoby Brissett, Brian Hoyer, Phillip Rivers, and Matt Ryan.
Losing to the Steelers.
Yes.
When you had Hoyer
quarterbacks that the Colts have had, and none of them could do it. And I guess Minshew Mania is back on and off again. Minshew Mania is back.
It's interesting, too. You look back at the Hoyer game, And Hoyer kind of let the Steelers back in, I believe, with a pick six, but that was more Adam Vinatieri. He had the missing. That was the missing season of Vinatieri right there, too, that kind of led to it. There's always been this, like, common theme, and that's why I mentioned earlier, whether the personnel or the coach or whatever, there's always been this common theme. But what you saw them do, especially in the second half, that impressed me on Saturday was they did to the Steelers what the Steelers have been noted for decades doing to other teams with their offense, and that's what most impressed me.
I haven't called my dad yet. He's a Steelers fan.
A little bit down, you think, maybe because of that? Yeah. Well, there are a lot of Steelers fans in that place.
I was going to the game, and I was trying to get him to come up. He's been to a couple of them up here with me, but he didn't want to come. He doesn't believe in the Steelers, so it's not. He's not surprised that they lost.
How many Steeler fans you think were in the place on Saturday afternoon?
Oh, man, I think I've been to 4 or 5 of these games here, and it was a lot. I almost wanted to say that it was more than last time. But it was a lot of them in there waving their towels, but they were really quiet once we took the lead and ran down their throats. And it was just happy, nah, goodbye, everything. But they were cool with it. They knew that their team is not that good, so they weren't angry about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, early on, they're fired up because it kind of looked like the normal theme with the Colts and the Steelers early on.
And they were booing once we took the lead, and once the team wasn't doing anything else, they were booing them. And I don't want to take your time, but I asked one guy behind me who was a Steelers fan, and I just said, hey, man, what are your feelings on Tomlin right now? He said, last year they were okay with it, but this year he said, I've been a Steelers fan for a long time. I think it's time for him to go.
Hey, how drunk was everybody there? Was everybody pretty happy and drunk and happy?
You talking about my group or
anybody in general? Just like the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
Was it a drunken crowd?
Man, it was a very drunk. Well, the people who sit by me every week are drunk every week. She's drunk every week. I won't let my children sit by her because she's cool, but she curses too much.
Oh, we got a lot of F-bomb dropping going on there.
Oh yes, she's cool. She's nice, but she curses a lot. So I have to let my kids sit on her.
You know what? And I curse a lot too, but just not like openly in public like that.
Oh,
I curse a lot.
She says it.
Like I miss jump shots, and the F-bomb's the first thing that crawls out of the mouth right there is that.
It's amazing you do radio and you never drop one of them.
Easy. Gonna knock on wood on this, Derek, man, because, again, you're dealing with somebody that's not very smart. Remember that here. All right, I don't have a lot between this microphone and this little piece of brain right here that's working.
You're selling yourself short, JMV.
My man, I appreciate it. I'm glad you had a great time.
All right, thank you, man.
Seriously. I never see this, and I'm sure that it happens. They have their own little drunk tank down there. Anybody been in that drunk tank there? Because that was like a prime time game, not literally in prime time, but figuratively speaking, a prime time game to get somebody thrown into the Lucas Oil Stadium drunk tank. You know, if you jack around and you get in a fight or something like that, none of which we want to see. The old drunk tank. All right, Robert's at 239-1070. Hello, Robert. How are you?
Hey, JMV. How you doing?
Great to hear from you, Robert. Go ahead.
Hey, I got a little DirectTV story for you. You talked about DirectTV
yes.
A week or two ago. So I live out west of Brownsburg, about 25 minutes on a highway. Come home one day. It's like, hey, what you guys, workers are, hey, we're laying fiber optic. Great. When are we going to get it? A couple of weeks. So I just got hooked up to fiber optic this last weekend. Now, mind you, I've had dial-up until about 5 years ago when I got a U-verse, thought I was in the 21st century. So now here comes fiber. So Sunday night, I flip on DirectTV. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I thought I recorded a game. When I go to play it, there's DirectTV on there. You know, they're pissing on your leg telling you it's raining. Oh, blame it on them. Blame it on you. Whatever. Screw you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sick of it.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yep.
So same thing. Sunday Night Football, got the DirectTV. It's like, all right, I got my cable hooked up today. I go to stream. I got a free 30-day cable from Spectrum. I go to stream it, watch the game, and life is good. So now I can give a big double FU to DirectTV.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to cut the satellite, go with Spectrum cable. Not sure yet because they say DirectTV's got the best sports package, and I'm addicted to DVR. all that kind of stuff. But anyway, you were talking about that a couple of weeks ago, and you're pissed off about it.
No, I
Everybody's
am.
pissed
No,
off about
I am still. And I have DirectTV. I've had it for 23 years, and I say this all the time. There is nothing perfect, and I'm certainly not going to vouch for them because they screw me over just like anybody else will screw me over. And they're screwing me over right now. So's WTHR. Yeah. So I've told them both. I've told them both to go piss off because of that. So, yes.
Yeah, but it was like, damn, did karma finally come back to me once?
One time, man. Soak it up. Embrace that. One time, Robert.
I was loving it. Hey, man, great show. A quick thing. You're talking about the F-bombs. Little shit, quick story. Westfield, Grand Park, I found a baseball league about 5 or 6 years ago. It's for us guys that are 48 and over. Been playing in it 6 years. And I think I set a record last year. I was playing center field. I missed the ball. I get back to the dugout, and they're like, talking about all my – you heard that clear out there? But anyway, if there's anybody out there 48 and over that loves playing baseball, Tuesday nights, it's a Hoosier Adult Baseball League. We got 6 teams. It's awesome, and it's a lot of fun, and it's a real league. So if you want to hang up your basketball, come play some baseball, we'd have you on our team, JMV.
Thank you, Robert. I appreciate that, man. That's very nice of you. Yeah. Hey, cuss words like are a release. I wouldn't be doing that in public, and I wouldn't be doing it at a game in public around people or anything like that. But in a gym full of a couple of dentists and a couple of dudes that can't play and other guys, if I miss a jumper, then I'm likely to do it. Right? Or if I'm alone, I'm likely to do it. But, yeah, not around a group of people or anything like that. I wouldn't be. Or certainly not at a Colts game like on Saturday. I wouldn't do that. Quick break. We'll come back. If you're on hold, I'll get to you. My vacuum caught on fire this morning. You want to hear that story, James? You ever have a vacuum catch on fire? I'll tell you what, they are so expensive, they last for about 5 seconds, vacuums.
Really?
My vacuum seriously caught on fire, smoked the entire house up.
I definitely want to hear this story.
On fire vacuum.
Absolutely.
And not in a good way. Not like my vacuum's on fire, man. Look at it, sucking up everything. Hey, sucking up. No, my vacuum caught on fire because it caught on fire. Bad story. Quick break. We get the Colts review. We've got a lot more for you coming up. Stephen Holder, 5 o'clock hour. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
This is the Colts
The cream, yeah. The cream of the crop. And there is no one that does it better.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Darnell Washington, the rookie tight end out of Georgia, to the right side. RPO, Trubisky rolling to the right. Setting up, taking a shot downfield. The ball is fluttering in the air, and it's picked off by the Colts. It's Nick Cross. Cross on the return, 20, 25, and it's decked short of the 30-yard line. It's a takeaway for the Colts defense, and the first career interception for the safety, Nick Cross.
Matt Taylor on the call, fluttering in the air with that Trubisky throw right there. Yeah, defensively, Nick Cross, his biggest play as a member of that Colts defense. And, man, the Colts had ownership. I mentioned the offensive side of the things in the trenches, but also defensively. 4 sacks. The Colts have 46 now, which I believe is tied in terms of the Indy era going back to 84 with seasons of 89 and then 2005, of course, that 2005 season with Mathis and Freeney had nearly half of the sacks that were produced for this Colts defense that season. But getting after the quarterback is what they're doing, and had ownership really of both sides of the football in the trenches. And we probably have not given enough credit to Gardner Minshew, but he was really good. This is something that PFF comes up with. It's called turnover-worthy plays. I'm not going to get too far down in the geekdom here for you, but again, it's something that you'll like because it's a positive for your favorite team. So this is one where you're going to think the guys at PFF are genius and not living in their parents' basement. So evidently, Minshew did not turn the ball over, and he had 28 attempts that were graded by Pro Football Focus as turnover-worthy plays, which means he was making plays and not making mistakes. 18 of 28, 215, 3 TDs. Maybe the biggest play, make this argument, that 42-yarder to Michael Pittman Jr., that's the biggest play right there. And he put it right there. So give a shout to Gardner Minshew, who had just an outstanding game on Saturday afternoon in that Colts win over the Pittsburgh Steelers. We've got Stephen Holder, as usual, ESPN, coming up at the top of the hour. Remember, 5:30, we're out of here, and then we get Colts Roundtable, followed by the Pacer pregame. Clippers and the Pacers coming up right here a little bit later on. Anthony is at 239-1070 right now. Hello, Anthony.
Hey, John. It's Anthony with CarX Auto Service.
Hello, Anthony. Long time no conversation. Thank you and your CarX folks and our friend Joe Childers for keeping me and everybody else in Central Indiana winter road ready. Thank you.
Hey, no problem. Hey, I got 2 things for you. Number one, I heard you saying that you don't have anything to give away, and it's not as exciting as tickets or anything fun like that. But I think I can talk Mr. Childers into getting some oil changes that might make some good stocking stuffers for some listeners around this time of year, and I'll get coordinated with him, and we'll get you some
Yes,
giveaways.
that is a heck of an idea right there, because if there's any, you know me, with $333K plus on the truck right now, I'm one that's into maintaining. In fact, Mike down at US 31 and Stop 11 over there did the once-over a couple of weeks ago on the truck. $333K right now, so I'm into maintaining, for real.
Fantastic. Hey, the one other thing I had, did you see the Milwaukee Bucks played the Houston Rockets last night? And at the end of the game, with under a minute to go, Dylan Brooks gets ejected.
Yep.
And then the Rockets coach gets ejected.
Yep.
Well, the Bucks announcers on the call said, well, I've never seen that happen with a minute to go in the game before. That must be some kind of record. And the other announcer says they'll probably take the game ball.
Oh, yeah, that's Marcus Johnson. That would have been Marcus Johnson. Marcus Johnson is still digging. Still and you know what? That was, Anthony, that was so much better. You got so much of a better feeling that the Pacers got so much. They were so salty about the Pacers until the Pacers went out Friday night and looked like they did on Friday night in Washington. And that just, unfortunately for me, that just erases everything. And we're kind of back to, all right, who is this team? You know, maybe one night they'll show up and play well. Maybe another night they won't. But they have now 5 stinky losses to 5 bad teams that a good team just simply cannot let happen, especially 4 of which are at home. But no, I agree. It is clear. This is not the player, mind you. I mean, this is the television network that we're talking about. But it was clear last week that the Pacers did something in those two previous wins that really stuck with Milwaukee, and that was good. And then, unfortunately, the Pacers followed that up with a clunker, a big clunker in D.C. on Friday.
Most definitely they do. Okay,
right,
I'll
tell
get
Joe.
Joe and I'll get to those changes. Okay.
You got it. Everybody around here will love that. Absolutely. Thank you, Anthony, right there. They will love maintaining that road readiness, courtesy of CarX. Trying to figure that out right there. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's.
I think
odd
it's a
hanging up the
combination
phone.
of me kind of jacking around with it over here and then you doing it over there. I think is what happens. I've never done that before. I normally just kind of hit it right with the phone. But if I hit that one right now, that's going to happen because it's not plugged in.
I also think it's the phones, though. I don't think it's just you. I think the phones are weird over here.
You're going to give me a break on this, huh?
Yeah, I'm trying to give you a pass.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I need a good pass. In case you missed it, too, Damontae Kazee done for the rest of the season for repeated violations of unnecessary roughness rules. So he was the one that cracked Michael Pittman Jr. that looked really bad. So he is done for the season and done without pay. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I saw this too. Mike Chappell was retweeting this from Mike Mitchell. Yeah, regarding, I don't know what to tell my safeties anymore. I guess just let them catch it. If I were a wide receiver, I would dive for every catch. I would ensure no contact in a completed pass. Playing deep safety is today's NFL, where rules are made mostly by people who have never played. Is tough. I love Pittman to life. Before you guys go crazy, I'm all for the player's safety and making the game safer and better for the current players. I watched my best friend get paralyzed playing this game. I was just saying it's extremely tough to play safety in today's league. JMV, this is from Skivvy's quote, "It was a good time. I lived on a lake. It was a good time. It was." Yeah, that's Paul George with Tyrese Haliburton. A lot of people believe that Paul George coming into town with the Clippers tonight, Clippers the winners of 7 straight, is somebody that they would like to see reemerge on this Pacers roster. It seems like in terms of thinking about Siakam or Anunoby, it seems like that is a lot more of a possibility than Paul George. And the other thing is, too, I know a lot of people got fired up about what they watched. I think it was Haliburton and was it Karl Anthony Towns whispering into his ear after the game on Sunday, or check that, Saturday night? Yeah, I don't know if you can look that far into anything right there. Matter of fact, I wouldn't. If you're Karl Anthony Towns, why would you not want to stay where you are? They got something nice going there right now. That's a good team. Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards. That is a good team. Got a little mix, too. Mike Conley Jr. is a part of that, too. A little veteran guard. Gobert is there for the defense. Seems like he's maybe clear of a lot of things that have hung over Gobert in his lifetime. So, yeah, why do you want to go anyplace else would be beyond me. We shall see. It's funny, when you think about it with the Pacers and making moves, they're supposed to dictate, I think, the terms on this, and they're not following suit. They didn't Friday night at all, and I know I'm harping on Friday night, but that's, to me, Saturday, I can understand. Going back to Wednesday, you understand Friday night, there is no excuse. Zero. And this team itself will dictate the tempo of which this organization takes on where it feels it should be going quicker, or if it can just kind of sit back and wait, because how much better are you going to get? How much better with this group are you actually going to get? And let me tell you this, losing to teams like the Wizards and the Raptors and the Hornets and the Bulls and the Blazers, that is not going to do a great deal on getting everybody fired up to make major moves before the trade deadline, because they believe this team to be something more than maybe what it is. Those are the type of games where you're going to get a front office to stand down and look more of the longer term. And you've known me long enough. The hell with the longer term. I want the right now. We're always about the longer term around here. I want nights like Saturday, late afternoon, Saturday evening around here. I want that. But it's going to be up to this team to prove it, prove that they're worthy. And a game like Friday night in Washington completely subtracts from that. If you're on hold, I'll get to you. I am going to be out on Wednesday. Derek Schultz is going to be in for me. I turned 54 years of age on Saturday. And just about the same time, lost an incredibly close friend from where I'm from and have known basically since I was born, at the age of 54. My friend Danny Wilson, who I have known, again, forever, grown up with, me and our friends always together. In those situations where you're at, his house or his grandparents' house or vice versa. Play basketball. My first off-the-bus car ride to school was in his 72 Chevy Nova. Again, just a myriad of memories that I have. And, 54 is just way, way, way too early. And I am going to step out and pay some massive respects to somebody, again, that I've grown up with and have known all my life. And I know, really, when you look at Eastern Green in terms of the 1980s, foundationally speaking, he was one of those pillars. I mean, we're all pretty tight-knit, right? Because it's a small place, a small community, even smaller back then than it is right now. But that one that is incredibly tough to get over. And I know that a lot of you out there completely understand what I'm talking about, because you have had either recently or maybe a little bit longer term something similar happen to you. So, yeah, you live, for the moments of embracement and enjoyment, and then unfortunately you get it mixed in with circumstances like this. So Derek Schultz will be in for me coming up on Wednesday, and as usual, Derek will be absolutely fantastic. And Derek, thank you very much again on a quick turnaround right there for coming in for me. That's Derek Schultz in here on Wednesday. Quick break, we'll come back. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Do you need furnace or heat pump service? Do you need to find a well-trained dealer like Marshall Mechanical?
Going left to right, down by 13-7 on the margin here. They throw it over the middle, wide open. There's Montgomery. Yards after the catch, still going, and he's rolled up into plus territory down to the Steeler 40-yard line. And the Colts quickly call for a timeout. There's the big play for DJ Montgomery.
Hey, welcome back. That's Matt Taylor right there. DJ Montgomery was big, too. I know he had a drop in that game, but also had a couple of big catches, no doubt about that. Just guys stepping up. Guys stepping up against the Steelers in that win this past Saturday. And 30-13 was the final. But even more so than that, the crowd in Lucas Oil Stadium, you guys are great. You can tell that you have been chomping at the bit forever for a game like that there. Got down early, and then the Colts in the second half did exactly what the Steelers normally do. And really, all the way around, it was fantastic. Truly it was. All the way around. I mentioned Gardner Minshew last segment. Other than early success, and he thought the worst, lessen T.J. Watt's impact, especially when you're able to run the football like that in the second half. Keep control of the clock. Michael Pittman Jr. is, again, in concussion protocol. Now, what is going on around the Colts, and in particular with the Jacksonville Jaguars? Trevor Lawrence, with that loss last night by the Jags to the Ravens, he's in concussion protocol. That happened after the game. C.J. Stroud remains, last check, in concussion protocol for the Texans. But Case Keenum got the win for the Texans in Nashville yesterday. A lot didn't go to what you would want as a Colts fan right around the Colts yesterday. But what was even better than right and exactly what you were looking for is this Colts team that you just take care of what you can take care of. Atlanta, Vegas, and Houston. And who knows, now maybe you got another freeway open to, dare I say, host a playoff home game. Are you kidding me? Get another bullseye event too? I'm all for that. Big weekend it was. Bill is at 239-1070. Hello, Bill. How are you?
JMV, how you doing this week,
Fantastic.
Man?
Great to see you last week, Bill.
As always, man, it's always a pleasure to be there, and I got an extra bounce in my step because of a nice Colts
yes, you do.
Victory yesterday. I tell you, this Atlanta game kind of worries me. I mean, Atlanta coaching chaos. They're changing quarterbacks. The whole team's in disarray, and sometimes that can mean a trap game if you're – if you don't go down there with the right kind of attitude. But, I think the Colts are going to continue to do well and looking forward to it. But as far as the Pacers go, you got to get somebody a big guy that can fill one of those lanes because if the Washington game showed anything, all you got to do is spread the Pacers out and just leave Miles on an island, and you can also pull him outside too. So
no, I agree with you on that. I do agree with you on that. They need somebody with a little bit more muscle and can add to the glass work on both ends too. No, you're right about that.
Yeah, maybe we can get LaSalle Thompson to come out of retirement. But anyway, everybody needs to come up to Twin Peaks on Friday because there's no better place to spend the Friday before Christmas than at Twin Peaks.
Vegas tickets up there for you, Billy. I'll see you on Friday at Twin Peaks on a Bud Light Blue Friday. Man, the Christmas time is always awesome, Billy. Thank you very much. Quick break. We'll come back. Stephen Holder of ESPN will go over that Saturday win and what's going on around the Colts in the AFC. He joins us next.
The Pacers are flying higher than Donner and Blitzen.
All the way to the hoop.
And Rick Carlisle has a big bag of tricks.
And slams it with two hands.
Bigger than Old St. Nick's.
Yes, of course. The Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch.
Right. 1, 2, 5.
3, sir.
3.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Tight end to the right, and that is Mo Alley Cox. Also, Kylan Granson into the ball game as well. So 2 tight ends right. Minshew in the pocket. Here comes the pressure. Stands in there, throws upfield. Caught. Here's the 5. It's a touchdown for the Colts. This time they get in, and it's DJ Montgomery. He dropped one in the end zone of the prior possession. This time he gets in, and the Colts have tied the game now at 13 apiece with 22 seconds to go.
No, that was big. That's Matt Taylor. That's Rick Venturi, the call on the Colts Radio Network. 30-13, the final on Saturday. They beat the Steelers. Colts now 8-6. And again, as we told you last week, that was a must-win situation. You consider where they would be with a loss compared to where they are right now. You get Atlanta, Vegas, and Houston to close out. You win, and you're golden, and obviously it's going to be magnified. It kind of feels like that Houston game is going to be it at the end of the season. But with everything else going on around you, maintaining, starting with Atlanta coming up on Christmas Eve, is job number one. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline from ESPN, ESPN.com, Stephen Holder joined us. I felt that second half with Minshew and the offensive line, the running game, and all that it entailed was as near perfect for this group as anybody could ask for offensively. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would. And funny enough, it came a week after they were all an absolute disaster in Cincinnati. So I'm not sure what it says about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm afraid that it's not positive, but that's a separate matter. Let's talk about the Colts. I mean, I really think, in fact, I told Ryan Kelly, we were having a conversation after the game, and I mentioned to him, I said, that kind of felt like 2019. If you remember that year, Luck had just walked out the door, and so the philosophy was very clear. It was, all right, we got to go and run this ball as much as we can and keep things in a manageable situation for Jacoby Brissett. I thought they did that for much of the year, particularly the first half of that season. And that's what that felt like. I mean, I remember, wasn't it that year, I believe there was a game in Houston where the Colts were down. Marlon Mack might have been hurt, I think. Jonathan Williams, I believe, started that game, if anybody even remembers who that is. And they actually ran at will that night. I think it was a primetime, Thursday night game. So it felt like that, So Jonathan Taylor's out, and Zack Moss goes down in the second quarter, and they just keep rolling guys out there, and the offensive line kept winning blocks. So really, really impressive performance. I always go back and try to give people a flavor of what happened in the game. I didn't do it a lot this week, but I did post a clip on my Twitter if you want to look at it as a listener. I think it was yesterday. You can scroll through my tweets, and you'll see the 31-yard run that they had, I believe, in the fourth quarter. Absolutely impeccable execution. Amazing execution. That's what you do right there.
No, I thought that given the circumstances and who we're talking about in this group, offensively speaking, that is about as perfect as you can play. And I remember a game, and I can't remember what year it is. It was basically a week after they traded for Trent Richardson and Ahmad Bradshaw, and the Colts played in San Francisco. And with that regime, what they'd always talked about they wanted to do offensively, I think that was like the only time they ever did it in that particular definition. I thought that was as perfect offensively as that group could have played then. That's kind of how I felt yesterday. And I'm just kind of considering who they have available, who's playing, who isn't. But yes, I should say Saturday, especially in that second half, again, I felt was as near perfect as that group could be.
Yeah, and I kind of extolled the offensive line in my previous statement, or the previous question you asked me. But I do want to make sure that we give Gardner Minshew his credit, because I think for him, what I worry about is him finding the balance between aggressiveness and and making mistakes or playing clean, I should say. He has struggled at times to find that balance. So if you go back and you look at the games in which he has put up the big numbers this year, when they've had 300-plus yards passing, which they've had a few times, in those games, what happened? Turnovers, right? This time, now, the numbers were not as big, granted, but he was extremely efficient, threw for a fair amount of yards for the number of attempts that he threw. And so I thought they got very good and efficient production out of the passing game and took some shots down the field, but did it without making a mess. And that's what you got to do. I mean, they're a team that can't afford that, right? They don't have necessarily the same explosiveness as some of these elite teams, but if they play clean, they can make some plays on defense, and they have a formula. There's a formula there that's pretty clear. But the formula does not include Gardner Minshew going out and turning it over 3 times. So that was the game right there. That was the formula and on display. And I think they got it, man. I don't know whether they can do it every week, but we know it's achievable because now we've seen it a few times now.
Stephen Holder of ESPN, ESPN.com. Colts 30-13 over the Steelers, 8-6 in the playoff picture, but still need to win the rest of the schedule with you in a minute. Zack Moss went out, didn't return. It was Trey Sermon, a former third-round selection, by the way. Tyler Goodson, who I rarely had much, if anything, leading up until that point. Both were absent.
Listen, I had to ask the PR staff to introduce us in the locker room.
That's good.
I'm not kidding. I had no idea what the hell that guy looked like. Okay, go ahead.
He was almost 6.5 per carry on those runs for 69 yards. That was such a big deal Saturday.
It was crazy. I mean, that to me is an indication that your system is solid, because as much as, look, we should give the running backs credit. Don't get me wrong. Like Sermon made some good runs. And I thought Goodson actually made some good runs as well. And I thought displayed really good speed. He's a guy to watch, I think, going forward, frankly. You always need depth at that position. And I think they had more depth than I give them credit for, frankly. But anyhow, but still, to plug a guy in, or 2 guys like that, to plug them in and to not see a drop-off in production, that tells me that they're executing the blocks, that they have the upper hand in the trenches for sure on Saturday. And if they do that, because I think this offensive line has generally played pretty well this year. I think all things considered, they have played well. They've had some injuries they've had to work around, but even in spite of all of that, I would say on the whole, I like the way they have played. If they can keep trending in this direction and trending toward where they once were, because, look, that's what this team was built on a few years ago. And I think they lost that edge, man. They lost it. And this is as close as they've been to recapturing that as I've seen in a long time. I don't think we hadn't really seen it, I don't think, since, I don't know, going into that Jacksonville game in 2021. That was the day they lost it. And I hadn't seen it since before this year. So all positive. That offensive line can take you a long way.
It's Stephen Holder who joins us. It can. And really, for them to get the maximum out of where they are and where they hope to be, it has to. It really does. Yeah. Now, in terms of coming back, what's your expectation for Jonathan Taylor? Does he reemerge this weekend down in Atlanta?
I think there's a chance. I think Wednesday will tell us more. Does he get out there on a limited basis? And we'll see. The problem is he's missed, 3 games? So I think that's right. Yeah. So the problem is, you worry about, is he in football shape? Not that he would be completely out of shape. It's not like he's been laying on the couch. But, you haven't taken a hit in 3 weeks. You have a hand injury. That, raises some questions, and that makes you uncomfortable, from a ball security standpoint. So I just think they got to be really sure. If he gets back in practice this week, that's one thing. But getting on the field and playing is a whole different question. I don't know where this is going to go. All I'm saying is they have to be sure, because they're talking about ball security. I mean, we've already seen, like, they are capable of running the ball. Now, it hadn't been pretty the previous 2 weeks, so I'm not sure where the hell that came from. But in terms of running the ball, they had not been pretty the previous 2 weeks without Jonathan Taylor. So I give them credit for bouncing back. Hopefully they can keep that going if he misses another game. But as I said, look, they have displayed that they have the ability to do it without him. So if it's not there, I don't think you can push it. There is a pretty good chance Zack Moss will go. He's going to try to go as it stands here today. He told me after the game, it sounded like he could have tried to play if the result was more in doubt. But given the fact that the other guys were playing well and that the score got a little lopsided, there was no need to push it. His problem was, Zach said, he was having some issues with strength in that right arm carrying the football. So I got the sense it might have been a stinger kind of deal. So we'll see how that progresses over the course of the week.
I hesitate to ask because nobody knows, but any feel regarding Michael Pittman Jr.?
No way to know. I would say 2 days in a row, immediately after the game and yesterday, Shane Steichen was very positive about how he was doing. Now, I don't know what that means in context. Does that mean, well, for a guy who just nearly got decapitated, he's doing pretty good?
Yeah.
Or does it mean, hey, you know what? He's not really in that bad a shape. Maybe it wasn't. I don't like the term mild concussion because I think that is an awful term because, if you got a brain injury, it's a freaking brain injury, right? But there are degrees, there are degrees and also people recover differently. So who knows? There's always the chance. I mean, he would not be the first player to come back and play 1 week later. He did have an extra day, so he's got 8 days. We'll just have to see. But he would be a big loss, no doubt about it. They really had to adjust the receiver roles in his absence on Saturday. I think immediately after he went out, you might recall Alec Pierce moved over to his spot, and you saw him run sort of a hard slant and get a ball in traffic there. Not the type of route that we see him run a lot of. So I think he was, kind of assuming that role with Pittman. And then later on, you saw other guys mix in there as well. So they have to kind of piecemeal it together without Michael Pittman, just because A, he gets so many targets, and B, his role and those routes that he runs, they are really featured in the offense. That's just really at the core of what they do. So that'll be a big storyline this week.
Was that the best we have seen both the offensive line and the defensive line play together in one game?
That could be. That's a good question.
I was trying to think about a time when collectively both sides of that football up front played at that high a level, and I couldn't think of one.
Well, let's say at minimum it was definitely high on the list, and what you can take away from that is, first of all, I mean, to do it against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look, I get it. The Steelers are not a good team this year. I know I know their record doesn't suggest that they're some terrible team, but I mean, you can look at them and see they're not a good football team. But the one thing you can always say about the Steelers is those guys are tough. Like they're a lunch pail team. They reflect their coach and his demeanor. They always do, even when they're not that good. And I just think there's something, symbolic about the Colts going in there and basically beating the Steelers at their own game, basically knocking their teeth out, kicking their teeth in. That's what they did. And I think as a Colts fan, you have to really relish in that. Number one, you never beat this team. Okay. Like never. That's the first thing, for whatever that's worth. And then secondly, as I said, that is the way that's what the Steelers have historically done to people. They've just beat you up and you feel like you were in a fist fight. Well, the Colts brought the fist fight this time. So, I mean, you got to love that. No question about it.
No, I agree. And that they very much did in the second half what notoriously the Steelers have done to them over an incredibly lengthy losing streak.
Yeah. I mean, how many times did we see Andrew Luck get put on his tail against the Steelers? As good as he was, right? He got very used to hitting that turf when he played the Steelers. Do you remember there was a game? I'm not going to try to remember what year, but this was the most symbolic image of Colts and Steelers, I feel like, in my time in this town the past 10 years.
Brian Hoyer game?
Well, no.
Oh.
That was a doozy, too.
I thought that was somewhat symbolic, too, for maybe negative reasons. Yeah, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there was a play, and I don't remember the year, but there was a play in which Andrew Luck threw an interception basically laying on his back in the end zone. He tried to throw the ball as he was getting knocked over, and it kind of went, sort of errantly up in the air and was intercepted. And it was like some Carson Wentz type of stuff, man. I mean, it was, but that's what happened when you played the Steelers with this team, man. So I don't know. Maybe it's a different day.
Yeah, it was good to see, and you could tell by that crowd and that atmosphere is exactly what they've been longing for, just something like that, and the Colts gave it to them.
You know something that I think is really critical too. I wondered after the Cincinnati game, how it would affect them mentally. Now, I wasn't afraid that they wouldn't punch back, because I think Steichen has instilled something in this team. Shane Steichen, the attitude that he brings, I think, is really important. So I wasn't doubting it. At the same time, show me, don't tell me, right? You got to step up. And I don't care what you say, what your words on Monday and Tuesday, I don't care. Doesn't mean anything. So what I would say is, they came back and they played with confidence. So you go in that locker room and you talk to those young running backs, and Trey Sermon's not even that young, but certainly Goodson's young, and the young receivers and what have you. And you just hear this confidence, and that's the part that I really loved, because one of the things that you got to do when you don't have a savior on your team, okay, and by that I mean you don't have Patrick Mahomes. You don't have a guy you can just say, okay, we're going to put our fate in your hands. Go save us. They don't have that. So what you got to do is you got to get it from everybody. Everybody's got to step up. And so I remember talking to DJ Montgomery in the locker room, and, he had this ugly drop in the end zone. Everyone saw it. I mean, at that moment, you're thinking, okay, this guy has no business being on this football field. and honestly, his resume suggests that he doesn't have any right being out there. Okay, this guy has been out of college, I think 4 years, hasn't done anything in the NFL, like nothing. And so anyhow, he gets another shot and he comes back. And so I asked him, I said, do you know if you're really ready before the moment? Because he said, no, I believe I was ready. I said, how do you know? He said, no, you know what? You don't know. You really don't. And he says, but you just have to have a confidence within you that when that opportunity comes, you're not going to fumble it, no pun intended. And he did, but as I said, they have this mentality about them, the Colts, that they're not fazed by anything. And that's something you got to love about this team. They're not fazed by any negative or any positive for that matter. And the guy was headstrong and came back and made a huge play. So anyway, all the credit in the world.
How good has Shane Steichen been this season in terms of talking about him as Coach of the Year? Where should that conversation begin?
He's a hell of a coach, man. Like, we don't have to sugarcoat this or sort of suggest it. We don't have to do any of that. The guy is a hell of a coach. He has two things. I just mentioned the mentality that he's instilled. I think that's like huge. That's a huge part of this. But then you combine that with the fact that schematically, what him and Jim Bob Cooter are doing offensively is off the charts. Like, it's off the charts. I mean, you look at Pittsburgh's skill position players. I mean, they've got guys like Deontay Johnson and George Pickens out there, and they can't even put a sentence together on offense. You know what I mean? And I get that their quarterback is a bad quarterback situation. But, I mean, it's not like the Colts are out there playing with, 2008 Peyton Manning. I mean, come on, right? So I don't even think you have to make a distinction there. I mean, they're both playing with suboptimal quarterback situations. And yet, why are the Colts getting so much more out of their offense? Why is that? It's a big part of it is what is happening in terms of who's pushing the buttons. There's no doubt about it. And I'm just telling you, there's just kind of a sense of confidence in that locker room, and then when they lose, even there's not a sense of, man, maybe we're not that good, or a sense of disappointment. That's the wrong word. A sense of we don't know what happened. Like bewilderment. Like sometimes that happens. In Cincinnati, the sense I got in the locker room was they were pissed off. They were like, man, that wasn't us. We don't do that. And that ain't going to happen again. So I don't know, man. I mean, it's just none of this is a promise that anything in particular is going to happen, right? I mean, who knows what happens on Sunday? All I'm telling you is that from nearly 20 years of being in these locker rooms, you get a vibe, and I can read teams, I think, fairly well, or at least you can learn something from reading the team. And there's something unique about this team's disposition. And as I said, when you couple that with the offensive acumen, and look, Gus Bradley has had some moments this year too, up and down, but he's had some moments as well. What you get when you couple all that together is a really good product.
You just get some of what we witnessed on Saturday to show up and be more consistent, because this has been a roller coaster. I mean, all you have to do is look back at the last 2 weeks. I mean, it was dismal. We thought the worst last week, and this week now it's the best. It is a roller coaster, but it's just, if anything you take away from Saturday can be projected to consistency to close out the regular season, then they're looking good combining that with the teams that they're playing. But, they're also capable of playing down in these situations too, as we've seen.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, we saw that against teams like the Patriots and the Panthers. Both of those teams have very underrated defenses, to be clear. And I think we probably didn't give them enough credit off of those two games. Now, the Colts won both of those, but it was tough sledding, man. It was tough sledding. I mean, they could not move the ball, really, for the most part, in either game. But so, yeah, it has been kind of all over the place. But I think that's to be expected because, the consistent teams are generally the teams that have more talent. Let's just be honest. And they often will have a talent deficit at times against other teams. I'm not saying they're not good. They have a lot of good players, but there are some spots sometimes where they're at a disadvantage. Quarterback sometimes being one of them. So there's not much you can do about that as a coach, as an organization in the moment. There's nothing you can do about that. What you've got to do is you've got to overcome it in other ways. And so that's where you scheme things up, to get the best out of your players. And they have been doing that. I give them a lot of credit. So, but you're right. But the lack of consistency, I just think it's a reflection of where they are in their roster build. I mean, they're not quite there yet, right? They're going to have some games where, it's going to be tough for them. And that's just what it is. So I don't think it's surprising, but it's probably to be expected.
Stephen Older of ESPN and ESPN.com on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Always a pleasure. Hey, have a great Christmas. We'll talk with you coming up. Will we talk with? No, we're not on next Monday, are we?
Yeah, Monday's Christmas, right?
Yeah, so when am I going to talk to you? Tuesday? Tuesday, maybe? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm around. Hit me up.
We'll do that next Tuesday. Have a great Christmas with you and the family, okay?
All right, same to you.
It's Stephen Holder of ESPN and ESPN.com on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline right there. Yeah, Monday's Christmas. Christmas Eve, I'll be doing the Colts pregame huddle. And that'll walk you up to the Falcons and the Colts from down in Atlanta. Man, it's interesting. You look around at the quarterback leaders of these teams all vying for playoff position in the AFC. It is incredible. By the way, Tyrese Haliburton tonight against the Clippers will play. Miles Turner tonight with the Clippers will not play. Hey, Eddie, is Tice active tonight too? Can Tice go up over to the other locker room and play where he started the season tonight? They may need that. I don't know. Maybe. That's coming up after Colts Roundtable. James, great job. Thank you all. Thank you all for the birthday wishes this weekend. You guys, as always, made it extra special for me turning 54. And again, I can't thank you enough for that and hanging out here every day from 3 until 6 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Matt Taylor and the gang, Colts Roundtables, next.
My little brother's friends have been camped out at our place.